Should you get the iPad mini 2 here in 2025? So the iPad mini 2 came out back in 2013 and it's been almost 12 years since it came out. So in this video, I'll be explaining to you whether or not it's still worth buying almost 12 years later. So first off, let's go over the design and then we'll talk about the specs and whether or not it's still worth buying. So starting off with the design, the iPad mini 2 has a 7.9-inch display if we measure it from one corner to the other. And we do still have the home button, obviously, because it is an old iPad. And at the bottom, we have the Lightning port, not the USB-C. And some of the nice features that we have on this iPad that most modern iPads don't have is, first off, there's a silent switcher. And there's also the headphone jack, which is here at the top. So now that we've covered the design of the iPad mini 2, let's go over the speeds. So this device has the Apple A7 chip, which is the same one that was on the iPhone 5S. And for comparison, the latest iPhone, which is the iPhone 16 Pro, has the Apple A18 Pro chip. And this device also has 1GB of RAM, and for comparison, the latest iPhone has 8GB. So it is definitely falling very behind on speeds. And from my own personal experience, you can't really do online gaming. And when you try searching stuff on the web, it is very slow. And if you get the cellular iPad model, you'll have up to 4G speeds, which is pretty nice for a 12-year-old device or anything that requires a lot of internet. Now, as for the battery life, the iPad mini 2 battery life is actually really good. It has 6,500 mAh, and for comparison, the latest iPhone 16 Pro has 3,500. So it is performing very well with the battery life. That's definitely not going to be an issue. And that's really all there is for the battery life on the iPad mini 2. Let's now talk about the camera. So here's what the camera looks like on this device. It is very small, and considering that it's almost 12 years old now, the camera is definitely not any good on here. So the front camera goes at 1.2 megapixels and it could record at HD at 30 frames per second. And as for the rear camera, it could record at 1080p at 30 frames per second, and it takes up to 5 megapixel photos. So this is definitely a downside to this device. And if you plan on storing a lot of photos and videos on your iPad mini 2, then one thing you'll need is a lot of storage. So the iPad mini 2 comes with 4 different storage models. So the one I have here, it has up to 16 gigabytes, but it goes up to 32, 64, and also 128 gigabytes. However, it could cost you a lot if you go for one of the higher models, and you could be even better off if you upgrade to a newer iPad. So is the iPad mini 2 still worth buying here in 2024? Well, my recommendation depends on what you're looking for in an iPad. So if you just want to use your iPad for reading online books and articles, then I could definitely recommend getting it. However, if you also want to watch YouTube videos, you might want to consider a newer one like the iPad mini 4 or the iPad mini 5. And if you want it to be bigger, you could consider maybe the iPad 9. So for most of you, this won't be a good iPad model if you're just looking to use it for very basic things. And for those of you interested in checking out my iPad buyer's guide, I will have that down in the description. And I will also have my other iPad reviews linked down there too. So that's all there is for this video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and check out my channel to see more videos like this in the future. And if you have any other video suggestions, make sure to leave them down in the comments below.